Okay, I'm just going to show you a coursework sketchbook by Katie Cook. This is AS3D Design at Cirencester College. So it started off with some summer work, producing the aim was to produce a seaside pendant, or a pendant inspired by the seaside. So some of these sketches and pictures will have come from the holiday work. And we immediately see that she's got a very strong creative style in terms of the way the pages are laid out. The presentation varies a lot, and Katie goes very sort of these sort of very informal, raggedy edges and lots of layers and bits and pieces put together, which creates a really nice effect. And whether it's a bit of text like this with some bit of paint worked into the background of it, working over photographs like this, and it looks like there's been a bit of photo editing in here as well. So rather than having a plain photograph, it's a really rich shot with lots going on in it. So we get this, and when we do some observational drawings, it's a bit more than an observational drawing because it's captured the shape and the form and the colour really nicely, but she's worked in the sort of typography to make a whole design out of the page. And similarly on this side, the layout is very informal. We've got this sort of images set on a diagonal against this sort of backwash colour, then we've got a ripped piece of paper across here, and it looks really good in a very informal sort of arty style. Then we've got this is a nice page, mixing things up. So we've got an illustration of a camera here, we've got a bit of a digital edit going on here, we've got some fairly straight photography here, and it's balanced up on the opposite page by some observational sketches in a range of media. So we've got some sort of fine liner work, a bit of biro work, and there's a sort of sense of fun in quite a sort of childlike cartoon slipped in the middle there, in amongst the serious high quality sketches. So it gives a really nice feel to the pages. A little bit more formal, the artist research, looking at Lottie Glob and Resendez Sobral, gone with a bit of word processing, and it's still clear and it still works nicely. These strong colours in the background really make the pages feel sort of lively, and the analysis of the work is good and it all makes sense. So starting design ideas, and there's an emphasis really on sort of graphic effect, perhaps more than the ideas themselves. So we've got little things, little shapes that she's exploring. On the opposite page we've got a test resin cast, and it all feels very rich and colourful, and that's the style that Katie likes, and it's worked very well for her. So that, moving on to the ceramic vessel, again we've got some nice photographic studies, nice quality drawings, useful annotation down the side, really bold use of colour. So this is a lily illustration, strong use, nice mixed media, biro work, looks like it might be done in gouache or maybe acrylic paint or even Tipex, strong whites bringing out the shape of the poppy head. And we really feel there's a command of the media on these pages. So some research photos, some research into the artist Eva Hild, and then we've got some nice sort of explorations of shapes, looking at empty pods that people have made. So she's got more artist research, and she's gone beyond the artists that were recommended and found her own, which is always good to see. Then we get into some design ideas, some nice little sketches. Interesting background, a paler, relatively more subtle wash than some of the pages. Then we get a final presentation of the design. This beautifully worked ceramic piece that's really complex in shape and form. And she goes on to the copper leaf. And we've got these really big, strong, bold drawings of leaves and lots of different things. So we've got some rubbings here, which is nice. We've got some actual leaves here, which are painted silver. They're mounted on a bit of black paper. The black paper's worked over with a bit of paint. So we've got sort of wax crayon on here, we've got biro on here, we've got acrylic paint on here, we've got all sorts of bits of paper, and it just makes a very full, colourful page. Some research photos, looking good, well presented, a very bold purple background there, looking at William Morris just for inspiration for the leaf design. She follows this through with another artist research, looking at someone much more contemporary who's designed leaf-based jewellery, which connects in with the project very, very well. Then we've got an ideas page. Then we've got some little maquettes made in plasticine, and then we've got the final design where she's made a ring out of a copper leaf or vice versa, and she's shown it being worn there. Might have got that a little bit bigger, but she's got a very nice couple of pages. Moving on to the enamel piece, some sort of exploration of colour built on the landscape. So we've got an original photograph, then we've got a response in acrylic. She's done that several times. Again, this sort of command of media. We've got a bit of watercolour here, biro, some impasto technique up there. Really varied, and that's what we like to see. So some more research photos, and then she moves on to some artist research of Carl Fabergé. Then she found another artist that she's particularly interested in, and presented a page on them. Then she gets into ideas, nice bright colourful ideas, which is what you need for enamels because they are inherently bright colourful things. So the final piece is photographed there. We've got the sample test pieces here and the final piece presented there. Then she moves on to the Wire Man, and some really nice confident sketches of a little maquette that we recognise from the art room, and some bold drawings, quite free, quite exploratory, not too rigid. And then we've got some of her own research photographs looking at different things here, and looking at another artist that she's found who works in wire. So she's really good at finding these unusual artists and analysing them and working from them and responding to them. So then we get into some ideas pages where she's deciding what form she's going to create, and the final piece is photographed here. Then she looks at an architectural building, so some nice little sketches of architectural views, some work on Antonio Gaudi, some photos of bits and pieces from around the world. I think these are, some of them are Cirencester and some of them aren't. And then she moves on to ideas for the shape that she's going to produce, and she experiments with bits of foam board and styrofoam and things to create just a simple exploration of her ideas. Then she moves on to the extended project, which she chooses outdoor living, and she starts exploring different things on a mind map, collates together pictures, starts some observational drawings, and we can see the same sort of quality coming through in these rich pages full of colour and interesting things happening. And just as an image on its own, though it's building towards a three-dimensional thing, it's very, very strong. We've got these lovely detailed sketches in a kind of biro technique to really exploring the shapes and forms of the things she's looking at. Artist research, really thorough in that aspect, and she learns a lot from the people that she looks at, and they get linked in with her work, which is the point of artist research. So we do see students who don't connect their artist research with their own work, which means it's a rather fruitless exercise. But in this instance, we see a strong connection. So lots of research photographs, working through, getting through to design ideas, and she starts this idea for a sort of weird and wonderful creative form. So really nice, strong use of colour. And she gets into this kind of weird octopusy kind of creation, sort of very organic. And you'll see how it evolves. So she starts with a model in styrofoam and plasticine, and then she builds over that in tissue paper, and then it all gets hollowed out. So she goes through this process of creating a form that's a very sort of unusual shape. And the final thing is all illuminated, and she's got quite a detailed evaluation there. It's a really strong project, and it's a very strong piece of coursework in total.